Hello and welcome to the Truth About Storytelling. This is Tyreen Martinson, and for the month of September, I am focused on reflections from my trip to Mongolia, fast facts about Mongolia, and writing episodes that are based on my experiences on Mongolia with writing prompts. So I'm posting 3 times a week. Today is Wednesday, so you get treated to fast facts from Mongolia. So today we're going to talk a little bit about food and a few other things. So food in Mongolia is traditionally non-spicy. Mainly they have a little bit of salt, maybe a little bit of pepper, maybe a little bit of paprika, but it's mainly non-spicy. Now, if you're in the capital city of Ulaanbaatar, you are going to find some other international foods, and there's going to be more spices and things like that. Some of the other major cities within the provinces also have various international foods and spicy cuisines, but traditional Mongolian fare is non-spicy. Another thing you might want to know is that during the summer seasons, locals eat more dairy products than meat. They also focus on consuming more drinks than solid foods, which helps quench their thirst. So milk tea is consumed in great quantities during the summer. Another thing you might want to know if you're traveling to Mongolia is that meat and dairy products constitute most of the diet of Mongolians. And this is what was primarily available in the country for decades, and it's good for their health, especially during their cold winters. There have been some efforts to do some soil improvement and to grow some vegetables during the short summer season, but meat and dairy products are still the primary source of food. You will find mutton vegetable stew. You'll find mutton beef pocket type things. I can say mutton beef pockets, mutton pocket type things that are sold. They're almost like pierogies, but they're kind of flat. And they're mutton with a shell around them. They're easily picked up. They're a nice meat pocket type thing to eat, and they're very popular. There are some other great foods that you can get there, but think meat, lots of meat, especially mutton and beef. So those are the most popular meat products you can find. And again, a lot of meat and a lot of dairy. I'm not sure if it's an easy place to travel if you are a vegetarian. Next up, I mentioned Chingiss Kahn, also known as Genghis Khan, in previous episodes, partly because I read a book about him. But as you might know from previous episodes, his real name, or actually his real title in Mongolia, is Chingiss Khan. His real name was Temujin. He conquered 12 million square miles of territory before his death on August 18th, 1227, and he was born in 1162. Prior to 1206, tribes in Mongolia were scattered, and however, he brought them all together and formed a unified state that became an empire that was the biggest empire the world has ever known. Now, during his campaigns, he definitely killed people, but he also adopted people into the family of Mongolia. He felt that it was really important to adopt people into the family of Mongolia so they would be all one family, regardless of whether tribe or nation they'd been a part of previous to that. In Mongolia, you can see the world's largest equestrian statue, which is a statue of Chinggis Khan riding a horse. It's 40 meters high, and it was erected in 2008. It is amazing. 250 tons of stainless steel was used to build the statue, which has an elevator to take visitors and tourists to the top of the horse's head. My team and I got to go visit that on one of our last days in Mongolia, and it was really fun, and it's a really cool statue. The detailing on it is really interesting. He's got a sword. It's a really cool statue. I highly recommend you go check it out if you are in Mongolia. Now, the burial site of Chinggis Khan is a secret to this day. It is rumored that burial attendants were killed by the soldiers who also killed themselves in an attempt to keep the location of the site a secret. But again, that's rumor. We don't really know. Mongolia is known as the land of the eternal blue sky. This title is given to Mongolia because it receives 250 days and more of sunshine every year. Mongolians are nomadic, and almost 30 to 40% of the population has continued to live their lives this way. Another thing you might not know about Mongolia is that it is home to a double-humped camel called the Bactrian camel. These camels can be seen in the Gobi Desert and near some nomadic establishments. They are also found in Terelj National Park, where you can take a ride on a Bactrian camel. I got to do that while I was there, again on one of my last days. It was really fun and a bit scary. They put me on one of the largest camels, and I'm really short, so then all of a sudden I was really, really tall on top of this really big camel, and I didn't get seated right at first, so I was kind of uncomfortable, but I finally got adjusted, and it's actually a really nice ride, and they have a good gait for riding, so I thought it was pretty fun, although again I was a little nervous for the first half of the ride. So Mongolia is the only place that Bactrian camels can be found other than China. They can survive in temperatures ranging between minus 50 and plus 50 degrees Celsius. Horses are also of huge importance to present-day Mongolia and the history of the country. Mongolia is also known as the land of the horsemen, and many Mongolians start riding at a very young age. And while many of the people on my team were amazed that kids could start riding when they were 3 or 4 years old, I've actually known a few people who started riding when they were 3 or 4 years old, so that didn't quite surprise me as strongly as maybe it did everybody on my team. But yes, many Mongolians start riding very, very young, and often a herdsman, one of their greatest gifts that they receive as they're growing up as a child is the gift of a horse to call their own that they're going to use as a herdsman. So horses are vitally important because they are used by herders to herd their animals. They are a great method of transportation, and they are highly intelligent. Many Mongolian riders are very gifted and talented. We saw 2 historical shows while we were in Mongolia. One of them was a show that took place mostly on horseback, and the horses did tricks, the riders did tricks, the horses laid down or stood still, or galloped with their riders, standing or, inverting themselves upside down basically on the horse, all sorts of things. Many Mongolian riders are very, very talented, and it's because they grow up riding horses when they live in the country. Now, not everyone, of course, in Mongolia lives in the countryside. Half the population lives in the city, so do not expect every Mongolian you meet to be like a champion horseback rider or anything like that. That would be mainly for people who live in the countryside who grow up riding horses. So today, horses are still used as a mode of transportation, although many people drive cars all over the countryside. You can drive a Prius or a Toyota or anything around the countryside. As long as your suspension holds out, you're good. So it's pretty interesting driving in Mongolia. Horses were also used for delivering messages throughout Mongolia over 1,000 years ago because Chingiss Kahn started the first ever known postal system in the world to be used in his vast empire that he created. So messaging, like we think of like the Pony Express here in America, that type of messaging was done 1,000 years before in Mongolia. So it's been around for a long time. And that's all I'm going to share today for Fast Facts about Mongolia. I'll share more next time. And I hope you're enjoying these episodes. On Friday, I will be doing an episode about writing and about writing prompts that I kind of discovered while I was in Mongolia and while I've been reflecting about my trip in Mongolia. On Monday, I will again share one last reflection about my time in Mongolia, just in a kind of a general rambly storytelling kind of way. I'll definitely be talking about my faith in that episode. So just so you're aware, this podcast is usually about storytelling, but September is my month of really reflecting on my trip to Mongolia and all that it meant to me. So again, thank you for joining me. This is Tyreen with The Truth About Storytelling.